Hello everybody. Today's the day after it feels like weeks and weeks of me talking about it and thinking about it that I'm going to start replacing some of my benches with something a little bit like this one, which I built last year. Not exactly the same, but along the same sort of lines. So I've been out and I've bought myself some 2.4 meter long lengths of timber, and I'm going to try and build the bench using as few cuts as possible and making it as simple construction as possible. I'm by no means a carpenter. I did do woodwork at school for a couple of years, but I made a coffee table and I turned a sort of half-size standard lamp on a lathe and learned how to do a mortise and tenon joint, and I'm not going to put any of that into practice today. And so yeah, let's start making this into something to put some trees on. Okay, so this is the bench that I'm going to be replacing today. Well, not today. I don't imagine I'll get it all done today. It's still fairly sound on the top here, but if I just do that, you can see it's getting very wobbly, which is why I've chosen to do this one first. I've got a horrible feeling these legs are going to snap off at the base. So although I've got benches that are actually look good, this one is the weakest, I think. If we look at the one behind me, it's bowed and bent. It's not collapsing completely yet, but I am going to replace that one with something similar, although closer to the one at the top, which I'll show you. This will be the next one that gets replaced. It's in severe danger of falling over. It's probably the first bench I ever put up out of some old scrap timber, which is why it's now falling apart. But I'm going to have to make it slightly differently because it will need longer legs at this end than at that end. But that shouldn't be too complicated. I just realised I said that shouldn't be too complicated. Probably the most stupid thing I've ever said. It'll be incredibly complicated now, won't it? That's the way it goes. Anyway, this is another project. So I built this bench, and I'm trying to move you around without making you feel too seasick. I will be trying to make another one similar to this for the 2-tier one down the garden. So kind of a busy winter building, but having fun, as long as I don't cut my fingers off. Okay, so I'm just going to do a rough sketch on this piece of paper of what I'm going to try and accomplish. So basically I'm going to use a couple of rods of it's 2 inches by 1.5 inches timber, 2.4 millimeters long, 2.4 meters long I should say, and then I will be cutting a piece to fit in there and there, so I'll be using the full length of those pieces of timber, so that's no cuts. I'm going to put it on legs. This is a terrible drawing. Let's do it from the side. So basically a pair of legs like so, strengthening piece across there, and so when it's got its legs on, it'll be something like that. There'll be a strengthening bar through the middle, and I know my bars being to go crossways I've got 2.4 meter boards, which I can cut into 4 lengths of 60 centimeters to go across, and I can get 20, and I should need 18, allowing for gaps, so that'll be plenty. And if you're wondering why I'm going with it that way, meaning lots of cuts, when I've said I want to eliminate cuts, it's just that I think if I use them lengthways it's going to look like a picnic table, and I don't want it to look like a picnic table. So anyway, apologies if my artwork offends your eyes, but that gives you the gist of what I'm going to try and accomplish. Okay, so one of the first things I want to do is try and establish which of these boards are the three longest and straightest. That's got a curve to it, for example. That seems to as well. That's a nice straight one. Obviously I'm only going by eye, but I will pick the three that are best to my eye. Thanks, Coop. Now he wants to play. In fact, it looks like just these three here are going to be the three straightest, so I will put them to one side to be the long straight pieces. Okay, so those are the three long straight ones I've taken and put to one side, and we'll come back to them when we need them. This would be one of those jobs that be a lot quicker if the dog didn't keep bringing you the ball and then stood there holding the ball, wanting you to throw the ball until you pick up a tool or a piece of wood, or start to look even slightly busy, at which point it drops the ball because it wants you to go and do some ball throwing. There's you go, there we are. Move a piece of wood, the ball gets dropped. He's a wonderful thing. Okay, so what I didn't say when I did my little piece of artistic drawing was that I'm going to make the legs 1 meter high, and that means I need to cut 0.4 of a meter or 40 centimeters off of this piece, and then I should have a 2 meter long piece of wood which I can then cut in half, which will give me 2 of the legs. So line that up. Okay, fingers out the way, watch your ears. Ball for the dog. And there we go. Okay, so that little piece there will be trimmed down slightly more when we get to it, but that'll be the top of the leg section. Well, you'll see as we go along. Onwards and cutting woods. So I want this to be a meter. I can just get that to lie still. Okay, so no, measure twice, cut once. That was a rookie mistake, nearly. Okay, so again, watch your ears. What I should have got is 2 nearest damn it identical length pieces. That'll be 2 of the legs. Now I'll just do a second one of those. Okay, so I appreciate it's hard to imagine, but there you go, there's your 4 legs. And 2 top pieces. Now I've cut them, a meter seems quite high, but they will be splayed somewhat, which will drop it down by a little and it's quite nice to have a bench high. You're sat on a chair, you can sort of look across at the trees rather than looking down on them. So if I really don't like it at the end, I can always cut a piece off. Okay, so I've got my length here, which is 40 centimeters. I'm going to use 60mm planks running that way. If I just make my frame to put the slats onto, that's going to be too wide. That's not going to leave much of an overhang each side. It also leaves a big gap in the middle for the weight of the trees to sort of press down on. So I'm going to take off that much, which is the width of two of these off of this. So it's simply a question of offering that up, like so. Doesn't matter that I've lost that one, and then I can mark under there, and that's how much I need to take off. And I'm wondering if we've got one of those screwed that side and one the other side, it'll be 40 centimeters, and that'll be the top frame. So nice and simple. I would use that to measure this one. In the right place, fingers out the way. There we have it. So that was nice and easy, not too complicated. Okay, so that's the ends for the top frame, to which the actual planks for the trees will be attached to. I'm not going to build that frame first. I'm going to make the legs first of all. So I'm going to simply do that by attaching these pieces to this, obviously with a cross member at the bottom. So I'm going to have to cut a slight angle to the top of my boards so that they will sit flush with the top of this, and I'm just going to do that by eye on one, and that should, as long as I replicate it on all the others, then I should come out symmetrical, provided I make sure that I have the same distance from here to here on each side, if that makes sense. Okay, so after sort of much trial and error, gauging by eye, I've actually settled on a 15-degree cut at the top, and obviously I could flip flip the legs around and cut them off at the bottom as well, if I was going to be standing it on say here on the patio. But as I'm going to be putting it on the ground, on rough grass, I'm not going to bother doing that. So now all I need to do is attach that to that, cut a side brace. Okay, so I splashed out a little bit and bought these decking screws. These are sort of guaranteed not to rust for many years, and obviously the timber I'm using is pressure treated, so that shouldn't rot either. So the whole thing should hold together quite well. So I'm going to drill the legs where I want the holes to go. I'm going to drill through the legs, but not into the side piece. Okay, so that's kind of sort of layout of how the end of the bench will go. What I'm going to do here is I've cut a little random sized block at the same angle as this, so I can put that square and then line up the leg with the top of the rail and the end of the rail, flip that over, do the same the other side, and I'll have them in the same, they should be identical angles. That's the theory. I pre-drilled the holes. That's so that once the screw goes through this piece, it'll still be pretty much turning freely, and then it will pull, once it latches into this piece, it'll pull it tight. So, and of course I'm going to use some good old-fashioned wood glue as well, so we will see and come back once I put it together. Okay, so that's one end done finally. Looking at it on the camera here, it doesn't look level, but according to my spirit level, if you can see that, it's level. Of course, the patio might not be level, and so on, but I'm not going to worry too much. I'm going to go on and build the other one the same, and then the side rails to make it into, well, a table without a top. Okay, so just finishing up the last of this side, putting this cross piece in, and that's it for that one. The way I got this piece measured up, I cut a rough piece I knew was just about the right size, with the correct angle on here. I'm on camera. With the correct angle cut here, and then I measured from here to here, both sides, so that I knew I got it at the same side, and then cut off at this angle on this side, and that gives you your cross piece, which should be identical to the other one. Only one way to find out. Yep, they both look alright to me. Yeah, damn near identical as far as the eye can see. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Starting to lose the light, so should have started a bit earlier in the day perhaps, but that'll give these a chance for the glue to dry, and then when I come back I can start attaching the side rails, as I say, to make it into like the table legs, and then attach the top pieces. So, thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. Look out for part 2 when we'll finish this project. In the meantime, please do take care of yourselves. Stay safe.